everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar, Recruitment Marketing, Engage Candidates and Win Talent. Before we get started, just a few announcements. It's not too late to save your spot at SmashFly Transform, the world's first ever recruitment marketing industry conference. Join us November 2nd through 4th in Boston for brilliant keynotes, insightful sessions from industry leaders, and big ideas to jumpstart your 2017 talent acquisition strategy. If you're not able to make it to the live event, don't forget to sign up for the free live stream at transformrecruitmentmarketing.com/live-stream-register. That's on the slide, and this will be included in the PDF download of the slides I'll be following up with later. Experience all the insights of Transform from the comfort of your desk. Secondly, please note that call-in audio is not available for this webinar. You must connect to the audio broadcast through your computer speakers or headphones. We apologize for the inconvenience. Now, on to today's presentation. Our speakers today are Howard Adamsky, Senior Analyst for the Human Capital Management Research Practice at Aberdeen Group, and Sylvia, Chief Marketing Officer at SmashFly. After the presentation, my colleague Bennett will jump in to ask the speakers a few questions. Feel free to submit your questions on recruitment marketing throughout the broadcast using the Q&A box at right. And don't forget to check out the SmashFly blog for a follow-up post covering any questions we don't get to today. After the webcast is over, I will be following up with you via email to share the event recording and slides. All right, without further ado, let's get started. Lori, why don't you take it away?
Hi, everyone. This is Sylvia with SmashFly. It's great to be here, and I'm looking forward to partnering with you, Howard, on a great webinar.
I think so. Thank you.
So let's get started and first get on the same page about what is recruitment marketing. I think it's one of those terms that has come up a lot lately in talent acquisition strategy, and some people define it in different ways. And so Howard and I both thought that we should start out today with sharing what our definition is for recruitment marketing. And so when we talk about recruitment marketing, we're looking at every tactic and strategy that a team uses to find and attract leads, and engage and nurture those leads, and ultimately get those leads to convert into applicants so that you can fill jobs now faster, as well as build a pipeline of quality leads for the future. And recruitment marketing has definitely evolved into something much more than what was traditional recruitment advertising or job distribution. It's not just about marketing your jobs anymore. It's also about marketing yourself as an employer. And so we see a lot of talent acquisition teams really broadening the number of strategies and tactics that they're using to include everything from sourcing candidates to building a career site that's SEO optimized and mobile friendly and personalized, to building a talent network and your own CRM where you use email marketing and content marketing, all the way to having recruiting analytics that lets you monitor and track and measure and analyze all those strategies and tactics and how they're working together. So with that said, Howard, let's share with the group some of the research that you've done recently at Aberdeen, and how best-in-class organizations are leveraging recruitment marketing to make their talent acquisition strategies more effective.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. The research at Aberdeen, for example, in terms of benefits of recruitment marketing has moved clearly in the direction that you have just described, and it's become a best-in-class strategy. And let me just throw out a couple of data points. Best-in-class report that 69% of employees responding to surveys rate themselves as highly engaged. 69%, which is extremely high, and that's people rating themselves in terms of their own thoughts about the organization. I mean, that's a very, very big number. And if you, for example, move on from there, if you just look at some things like year-over-year increase in annual revenue per full-time employee, it's 9.2% in terms of best in class. You're approaching 10%, and that's a very, very significant number. That's going to give you a very good return on investment in terms of your workforce. And even, I'll throw out one more metric, year-over-year increases in customer satisfaction rates, for example, 8.9%. These are numbers that are very significant, and they go from year to year. And if you keep doing these things, it means that you are moving clearly in the right direction. So moving on from there, let me just talk a little bit about today's agenda and some of what we're going to cover, so to speak. I'm not obviously going to read everything that's on everyone's slide because they can see that, but fundamentally we're going to talk about how recruitment marketing helps to attract top candidates. We're talking about recruitment marketing. We're talking about what best in class are actually doing, and those are the things that I think make a lot of sense, and those are the things that make a difference. In terms of the webinar today, what we want to cover are some of the following kinds of things. And once again, I'm not going to read everything, but I'll make some comments here. Looking at the first one, collaborate and learn from marketing. Critically important. Employer brand is key. Your organization needs to be a destination of choice. When something opens, people need to think to themselves, if I can do this job, I have to apply there because that's where I want to be. And that's going to happen because there is a brand. You need to enrich traditional talent acquisition methods through recruitment marketing, and very important, technology to automate things, because that's so important. Post and pray on job boards, those days are gone. Job fairs with thousands of people, those days are gone. What it really boils down to is you have to reach out with the new and the different as it relates to technology and social media and different kinds of portals. You have to attract interest and you have to generate buzz. Mastering the use of social media, pretty much the same thing. Become more proactive in hiring. Building a talent pipeline cannot be emphasized too much, because if you fail to do this, every time something comes up where you have a candidate or you have an employee that resigns, you start from scratch. And all of a sudden you are behind the eight ball, the candidate leaves, and things become very problematic. And in terms of using social media for this, for example, the question is really how. The question is never if. I think that people have to do what's new and what's different, and they have to be engaging and offer value. I think you were going to move on that next slide.
Yes, sorry, the audio dropped out for a bit, so I wasn't sure if great. Yeah, and I think, Howard, as you're going to give a lot of great data points in today's webinar that I think will provide the folks on the phone with some solid business reasons why investing in recruitment marketing can be so impactful to their talent acquisition strategy. One of the things that I thought we could do just up front is, as we hear those examples of how best-in-class organizations are using recruitment marketing, let's visualize where these strategies fit into the recruiting process. And so one way to think about it is in terms of a funnel. And one thing that we say here at SmashFly is that recruiting is really centered on the bottom of the funnel. A recruiter's job is to convert an applicant into a hire. But recruitment marketing's job comes first. It sits at the top of the funnel. And recruitment marketing's job is to attract leads and convert them into quality applicants so that your recruiters have more quality candidates that they can source from. So, now that we've shared our definition of recruitment marketing and where it fits into a modern talent acquisition process, I think, Howard, it'd be great for you to define what does Aberdeen mean by best-in-class organization?
Well, for those who are not familiar with Aberdeen and how we work, what we do is we show what greatness actually looks like, and we kind of break that down into three categories. Best in class, which is the top 20%. industry average, which is the middle 50%, and laggards, which is not a nice word, not where you want to be, and that is the bottom 30%. And some of the things that we look at, and I won't get into too much depth here, but some of the things that we look at are obviously on the slide. I mean, the processes that people should have in place and certain critical metrics that organizations need to keep an eye on, data, knowledge management considerations, and technologies that organizations should evaluate, and that is very, very important. So that kind of answers that for you?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. So the question, how recruitment marketing helps to attract top candidates, for example. There are pressures that organizations are feeling, and this is across the board. This isn't even best in class. This is all respondents for the most part. For example, if you would take a look at the first one, 58% of people feel the pressure in terms of shortages of critical skills available within the labor pool. And that's something that is on the minds of not just HR people these days, but hiring managers and talent acquisition people as well. Because if you don't have the ability to hire people that have the skills that you need, then you really have a very, very serious kind of a situation. And if you take a look at the second one, 39% overcoming competition and other companies to find and hire the best candidates. What people don't realize is that that is directly connected to the first one, because a candidate, if a good candidate is going to go to 5 places and get 3 offers, just for argument's sake, if the candidate doesn't go to your organization, doesn't go to your company to work, what that means is that you begin to feel increasing pressure on the first one, the shortage of critical skills, because you are not getting the A candidates. You're now getting the A- and the B candidates, and that's something that becomes problematic over time. So this is a real pressure, and it's a real pain for people who are thinking about these kinds of things.
So let me jump in with an example, I think, of a company that has felt the pressures that you just described, Howard, and what did they do about it? How did they take on this challenge in their strategy? And so one of the companies that we can talk about is CH2M, which is a very large global program management company. Have done some very huge infrastructure projects in different regions throughout the world. And one of the things that SmashFly did with CH2M is we helped them launch their talent network on their career site and also their Facebook page. And when we did this, they were able to gain 10,000 contacts in the first year. So same thing as a lead, a contact as a lead. So now we have 10,000 people who are interested in CH2M as a potential employer and have given CH2M permission to stay in touch with them, opted in, let's say, using their email. In the next year, CH2M extended that talent network by inviting previous applicants, so the contacts that were sitting in their ATS. They invited those folks to join the talent network, and they also encouraged their recruiters to invite prospective candidates to join the CH2M talent network as well. And this brought up the number of leads that they had in the SmashFly platform to 90,000. So this year, they've also added a talent network form in the apply flow, meaning that when a candidate clicks to apply, they're asked to provide their email address first before they continue on with the full application process. And I'll explain a bit later and illustrate for you why this has become such a key strategy in recruitment marketing. But the result for CH2M is that their talent network has now more than 300,000 warm leads worldwide that their recruiters can source from to make quality hires faster. And it's really been a game changer for them. I'm not sure if anybody on the phone attended the HCI Strategic Talent Acquisition Conference that happened in May in Boston, but it was a great event overall. And someone from CH2M gave a fantastic presentation about their recruitment marketing strategy and the results that they've gotten so far. So I think it's available up on the SmashFly SlideShare channel if you want to dig more deeply into this particular case study.
Lori, that's
so
astonishing. I think that's amazing. I happen to know I know CH2M, and you used an interesting term. You said it's a game changer. I mean, you're looking at 300,000 soft kinds of leads, and if that's not the kind of thing that's going to make a huge difference in terms of hiring quality candidates in a way that's more effective, then I can't even imagine what is. From my perspective, recruitment marketing is kind of the answer for HR executives' challenges to a great degree as it relates to that. Because just let me throw out another statistic. Best in class are 68% more likely to proactively build and expand the candidate pipeline, regardless of whether there is a current hiring need or not a current hiring need. That's 55% more than all others. And that is really big. And if you combine that, and I know this is a little off, but if you combine that with improving the candidate experience, which is really, really big, you're just going to do so much better in terms of the kinds of people you're going to get and your effectiveness and cost and a host of other things. Because I think if you move on to the next slide, you'll see that learning from marketing, I mean, you build a recruitment life cycle kind of a program, and it starts with this awareness, and people just kind of have this thinking and about the organization, which leads to interest, and it kind of goes from there, an application, and the next thing you know, you're beginning to get some of these people on board, and if you do it well and you do it right, you'll get some real good A players in there, and that's what you need to build your organization is A players, because the company is nothing more than a collection of the people that work there, and if you have only B players, you have a B grade company. It's not easy. It's just not easy to compete. So moving on here, best-in-class recruitment marketing activities, for example. Who are the best in class? A percentage of employees receiving a rating of exceeds expectations on last performance review. Best in class, 9.2%. Just to give you a few more statistics on what best in class is doing, for example, all others are down. They're minus 1%. Let's take something else that's important, year-over-year improvement in average search to hire rate, for example. Best in class are at 7.2%. All others are literally going backwards at minus 3.9%. And year-over-year improvement in revenue for full-time employment. Full-time equivalent, is 6.8%. Once again, all others are going in the other direction. And if you stop and you think for a second about year-over-year improvement in revenue per full-time equivalent, that's the return on investment in terms of what's extraordinarily expensive to your company, which is your workforce. If that's not important to you, then I'm not exactly sure what is important to you. Moving on, step one, involving marketing to build your employer brand. I think, Lori, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Sure. I think one of the things that we have found in modern talent acquisition is that it's really important to think like a marketer. And if you just ask why, because candidates have become like consumers. They've reoriented the candidate experience journey around their needs, and they're researching a new employer in the same way that they research products and services. So they really expect that the experience of engaging with a prospective employer is going to have a similar consumer feel. So it's super important for recruitment marketing and marketing to be aligned, especially when it comes to connecting the employer brand to the organization's consumer brand. And I know, Howard, we hear so often that candidates are really the ones in control of the candidate journey today, but I wonder what did Aberdeen find that this means in terms of the time and the cost to recruit?
Well, time is money, and the fact of the matter is that our research shows that the average cost per hire for U.S. companies is about a little over $2,700. And these are dollars that are very valuable to the organization. These are resource dollars, and the bottom line is if you don't do this well, and if you don't utilize recruitment marketing in ways that are going to support your hiring efforts, you're going to be in a situation where those numbers can easily go up, and over time, all of that money, instead of dropping to the bottom line, winds up going into hiring new employees in a way that's far less effective. It really costs an enormous amount of money to do that, and I think that that's something that people have to consider. And I also have to think that the bottom line is that you need to kind of walk in your candidate's shoes. I don't want to go Zen here on anybody, but I always thought, see the candidate, be the candidate. Because if you don't understand how candidates are thinking today, and if you don't understand what candidates expect today, then you're just in a situation where you're looking at this from a view of 1998 or something along those lines, and this is a whole different world. If you take involve marketing, employer branding, for example, you take a look at best in class as opposed to all others. Once again, to throw in a data point, best in class involving the marketing department in employment branding and advertising tactics, for example, 68% more than all others, and I think that's a really, really big deal. And best in class obviously are doing something right because those are some very big numbers. I think that taking a look at utilization of social media portals to source candidates, for example, best in class are 32% higher than all others, and I think that's something that best in class are discovering, that this is the way to move forward in the future if you want to get the better candidates on board within your organization. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that, Lori?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that when I saw this statistic from the report, it really resonated with me because we see the same thing among our customers, and they always make sure that recruitment marketing and marketing are aligned, especially from a brand perspective. But for sure that the value proposition to candidates is often completely separate than the value proposition to customers. There's definitely a lot of collaboration that's needed between recruitment marketing and marketing, but one of the benefits of having dedicated recruitment marketing within the talent acquisition team is that you have people who are focused 100% of the time on the candidate as the target audience. So lots of collaboration, but also we see a shift towards recruitment marketing becoming its own discipline within the talent acquisition organization.
Understood. Yes, I agree. The bottom line is that, like you said, to a great degree, and I think I touched on this as well, the candidates are the new customers, and they expect things to be done very differently than they had been done in the past. Moving forward, enriching talent acquisition through recruitment marketing, the bottom line is that people are still and have been spinning their wheels for a very long time, utilizing things that simply might have worked a long time ago and are not working anymore. And campus recruiting, for example, if you look at the numbers, your best in class are just saying that they're seeing minimal results from this. Job boards, the same thing. I mean, some people will throw up an ad on the job board and post and pray and hope that somebody applies. But something, if you're going to staff your company with A players, if you're going to be going with knowledge workers, people that really, really are important, high impact individuals, doing this is just not going to do it for you. It's just not going to do it for you. In terms of a recruitment marketing platform, people have to understand it's a technology that's used to automate, manage, and measure everything that's done in recruitment marketing. It's not an applicant tracking system. So in other words, it's not an ATS, but it plugs into one, and that's really, really important. People need to understand that the bottom line is that technology solutions are better than homegrown solutions. And I just thought to myself the other day, I had a conversation with someone who was working at a vendor site, and part of what they were doing is they were using Excel kind of for an applicant tracking system. And I just thought to myself, just shoot me, because this doesn't get any worse than that. Yes, It was horrifying, and after my chest pains went away, I just said, okay, let's have a conversation about this. So you use technology to gain effectiveness within your recruitment marketing programs. And once again, you've seen this before, the awareness, the interest, the consideration. This is really, really a time to shine, because the things that are available and the technology solutions that are available today, these technology solutions were not available quite a ways back, and you had to do things differently. Now you have a choice of how good you want to be, and you have a choice of how great you want to make your organization. So if you move on from there, I'm sorry.
One other thing, just to jump in, Howard, I would say is that
please,
with the addition of technology like a recruitment marketing platform, I think that you now have the ability to manage all of your recruitment marketing tactics from within the same system. And so you can now see side by side which strategies and tactics are working and which ones are not. So like some of the stats that you just gave about events, campus recruiting, job boards, even which job boards, that mix is probably going to be different company to company, depending upon the industry that they're in, the competition that that they're facing, et cetera. So that's one of the benefits of a recruitment marketing platform is that you can customize what you do to work best for you, and have all the data there at your fingertips to make some really informed business decisions.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And that kind of thinking, that kind of philosophy helps you to master the use of social media to some degree. And oh my goodness, I have a few more statistics from Aberdeen, so let me put these in here. I mean, you really have the ability to transform your recruitment programs and become more immersive in a sense. Once again, if you look at best in class, and I'll just remind everybody, best in class is the top 20%, all others would be the bottom 80%. Investing in new technology makes recruitment more engaging, and technology that makes recruitment more engaging creates a better It makes better results. One needs to use the tools that are technology-oriented, that are at their disposal in order to win, because you win the candidate or someone else wins the candidate, and if they do, then you have to start again in some ways. Best in class are, in terms of investing in new technology to making recruitment more engaging, best in class are 30% more than all others. And in terms of developing talent communities to reach candidates, best in class are 24% more than all others. And talent communities have to be engaged. You have to really be engaged and on top of this, and that really requires a recruitment marketing kind of a headset, a way of thinking. You have to amplify your employer brand through social portals, and that's something that people have to keep in mind. But there's so many tools, and there isn't enough time or resources to do everything. So I think what a lot of people need to think about is, what are some of the enablers that best in class are doing? And some of our research here at Aberdeen shows, for example, talent communities, 63% more. Utilization of talent communities, 63% more than all others. Career site branding, technology and services, for example, 64% more. Candidate relationship and management tools, also literally more than twice as much. That's big. Mobile optimized career platforms. Let's just take that as an example, 76% more. You can't be competitive these days if you're not on mobile. People are in coffee shops, people are here, people are there, people are waiting for a bus. They decide that they want to become engaged and apply. They can't wait until they get home to a computer or their browser, because when they get home, 12 things happen and they forget. The bottom line is, if they've applied to other organizations and those people have a sense of urgency, they are already on top of everything. They've already sent an email to the candidate at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're already behind the 8 ball. These are the kind of things that are important. Did you? How does that sound reasonable, Lori? Anything on that from you, my friend?
I think this is another example where we're seeing our customers adopt the same things here that the best-in-class organizations in your study are doing. And I think building a talent network is probably the number one thing that they can do, to have a database of warm leads that they own, because it really enables them to source candidates that are already interested in potentially working for their organizations, which means that they can make great hires faster and cheaper, frankly.
Yes, yes, absolutely right. Fully understand. And I think that ties into building kind of a pipeline to some degree. And I think that kind of makes sense, because once again, and I said this before, and I don't want to repeat myself, but certain things bear repeating. You do not want to start cold. And within your organization, you know, for example, the kinds of people that you're always going to need. If you're in the software business, it's obviously software engineers. If you're in the biotech business, it's electrophysiologists and medicinal chemists and so on and so forth. You need to build that kind of pipeline, and I think that's so very important. Does that make sense to you, Lori?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have another customer example if we can pull that up.
Yep.
Eaton is another customer of SmashFly, and they're using our recruitment marketing platform. And what they've done is they've integrated the talent network again throughout their career site and in different touch points with candidates. And they're now capturing 1,000 contacts a day, which is pretty amazing. And all of those leads are segmented into a couple dozen core disciplines that Eaton has defined based on their job families and the kinds of candidates that they're seeking to hire. And so that segmentation occurs within the SmashFly platform so that they can build better targeted pipelines of talent. And the recruiting team then accesses the pipelines based on these core disciplines, and then they send relevant content and messaging and even job openings to find the best opportunity for the candidate and also the best fit for the organization, because a lot of it is timing, as you and I know. So
absolutely,
being able to segment your talent network leads by job family, geography, skill set, whatever, is an example of how you can give your sourcing team a running start, because you can really use this talent network, this pipeline, to change from reactive to proactive recruiting and stop needing to start every new job rec from scratch. And Howard, I think that this was also one of the data points that you found in the Aberdeen study.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I actually sometimes, it's an interesting thing. We do data and we come up with data points and statistics, and sometimes I look at them and I think to myself, this is just absolutely amazing. We're talking about organizations becoming more proactive in terms of talent acquisition, and our data shows that 60% of companies are using a reactive kind of approach to their hiring programs. And I just think to myself, what are these people thinking, and how do they expect to be successful and beat out the competition if they're going to be doing it in a reactive kind of a way? It's just something that's so problematic, and it's a time gone by. You'll never build that talent kind of a pipeline. It's just never going to happen. And once again, you refer to the work of Peter Drucker and knowledge workers, and you really, really have to do the right things, and you have to do them well as it relates to the technology involved and the solutions around recruitment marketing if you're going to kind of hold things together. I think that building a talent pipeline through recruitment marketing is just so critical. Another data point here. Aberdeen research shows proactively building and expanding the candidate pipeline regardless of current hiring needs. The best in class are doing that considerably more, and it just makes life easier. It makes it so that everybody doesn't have to go stress. People don't have to live in an organization where critical people leave and then they're replaced. Instead of being replaced 3 or 4 weeks later, they're replaced 3 or 4 months later, and it just causes tremendous stress. And also, I mean, if you take investing in new technologies to make recruitment kind of more engaging for candidates, I think people are finally coming around to that as well. Best in class are doing that 30% more than all others, and it shows that people are beginning to think kind of in moving in the right direction, I think, Lori. I mean, what are you thinking? Tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, first of all, I love that the research dug into what makes an organization best in class, and then specifically what strategies and tactics are they using. And there's so many good data points in here that for talent acquisition leaders that might be listening in and thinking about 2017 and already beginning to plan for what am I going to do next, or what can I do even in the next few months to put me in a great position for 2017. I think that they're probably walking away here with a lot of great business information that can help justify where they might want to take their strategy, and even where they might want to invest next. So a lot of times we're talking about recruitment marketing and this being something that we should focus on, but to see it quantified from a research perspective is not something that we see that often. So super excited that Aberdeen did this kind of research and we're able to share that with the market and with the community.
Yes, absolutely right. And you just said something that really touched on a nerve with me that got me all tingly, and I just need to say something. I obviously, I'm not sure who's in the audience and who's listening to this, but the bottom line, if you are responsible for talent acquisition in your organization, you need to be taking a look at recruitment marketing strategies. You need to be taking a look at the technologies that will enable you to be successful, because I was a practitioner, and the fact of the matter is you are judged to a great degree by the people that you bring into the organization, and the bottom line to that is 6 months down the road you want to make sure you have good people that you brought into the organization, because you don't want to be known as someone who brought bad people into the organization. If you're going to do your job effectively, you need tools and you need solutions, and you're not going to do it if you're going to do it the way, as we said before, the 60% of the world is operating from starting from scratch because someone resigned. That's not going to do anything for you, your company, and it's not going to help your career.
So let me jump in then. Yeah, I mean, let me jump in with, I guess, what could be a solution to help them achieve some of the things that we've talked about here. And just 2 slides before we jump into the Q&A, and I hope we get lots of great questions, because this is always the fun part for me for doing a webinar. But I think, we've talked a lot about the need to add a talent network and to have your own database, your own pipeline, so that you can capture leads and you can engage and nurture those leads, develop them into warm candidates that you can source from later. And I think the Aberdeen research really shows how many best-in-class organizations are using these kinds of recruitment marketing tactics. But maybe you're wondering, well, how do I do this? What does this mean? What does this look like? And it definitely starts with having technology that can support the strategy that you want to implement. And specifically here, a recruitment marketing platform that's focused on generating leads at the top of the recruiting funnel and converting those leads into more quality applicants. And we're not Aberdeen, but we have done some of our own research, and our data shows that up to 74% of candidates drop off of the apply process, which was a huge number when we first uncovered it. It means that you're spending a lot of time and money and resources to promote your jobs and drive people to apply, but 74% of them don't finish the application. And it really means probably that 74% of your time and your money and your resources are being wasted. Sorry to point that out. But it is a problem that can be solved with a recruitment marketing platform. And so our customers have found that by adding a talent network form at the start of the apply process, I mean, there's several places where you can integrate it, but importantly, at the start of the apply process, they're able to capture 80% of the candidates before they drop off and then using the recruitment marketing platform to automatically engage and nurture those leads with email marketing, with content marketing, they're achieving 42% more applicants for every open job. So at the end of the day, customers are leveraging modern recruitment marketing to improve their recruiting strategies and even exceed their hiring goals. So I hope this webinar has given you some new ideas and some solid business reasons why recruitment marketing should be part of your talent acquisition strategy, and some things to think about for the next few months as you're closing out this year and setting yourself up for what you're going to take on in 2017 and how you're going to crush it next year. So with that, I'll hand it over to Bennett, and we can get started with a Q&A.
Thank you very much, Lori. That brings us to the end of the presentation portion of today's webinar. We're going to move over to the Q&A portion, as Lori mentioned. Again, if you have any additional questions, please submit them using the Q&A widget on the top left of your screen. We'll get your questions and answer them as they come in. A quick reminder, our hashtag is #RMWebinar if you want to continue the conversation along while we wrap up with this Q&A session. To start us off, we touched on this briefly during the webinar, but to hopefully expand upon it a little bit more, Lori, from your experience, who do you think should own the recruitment marketing strategy and execution at somebody's company? Is it marketing, or is it going to be talent acquisition?
It's most effective when it's within talent acquisition, and in fact, most of the companies that we work with and talk with, recruitment marketing is part of talent acquisition. Rarely do we see that it's part of marketing. It's most effective when it's part of talent acquisition. And I think that we saw this shift starting to happen just a couple years ago because talent acquisition leaders realized the importance of having these kinds of skills within their own team, and really, think like a marketer that recruitment marketing is becoming one of the core disciplines of a modern talent acquisition organization.
Excellent, thank you. So, and Lori, I'm going to give you a heads up. We have a lot of people with a lot of SmashFly specific questions, so I'm going to put you on the spot quite a bit.
Okay, I'm going to do my best.
All right. What does SmashFly provide that a CRM such as JobVite or JobDiva, etc., I believe that's the whole question, but doesn't or does similarly?
It's a good question, and it's one that we get often. So a CRM, one way to think about a CRM is that it is a database that's separate from your applicant tracking system, and it's a place to put people who haven't yet applied. And it's an important part of the top part of the recruiting funnel. We use a CRM inside the SmashFly recruitment marketing platform because a CRM for us is just a database. The issue is, how do you drive quality leads into the CRM? And then how do you leverage those leads that are in your CRM in order to convert them into becoming applicants? So a recruitment marketing platform also includes job distribution. It includes a platform to manage your career site. It includes social recruiting. It includes employee referrals, events, a CRM, as I mentioned, and recruiting analytics. It's really an all-encompassing, dedicated platform for everything you do to manage leads before they come applicants, with the CRM being just a part of it. If you buy a CRM standalone, let's say, and you try to integrate that into your applicant tracking system, you're missing out on all of the other strategies and tactics that you should be using as part of your recruitment marketing mix. So probably you have a separate provider, for example, to do job distribution. You might have another company that you work with for your career site. You might yet have another tool to help you manage social sharing. And then you quickly end up with like a whole bunch of point products that might feel sort of cobbled together, and they probably don't integrate well with one another, and you certainly aren't able to get the kind of insight from the deep analytics that you can get with a single system and a recruitment marketing platform. So those are some of the key differences between, let's say, a standalone CRM and a recruitment marketing platform. And one last point I would make is that there are some ATSs which have evolved to offer a CRM. SmashFly does not provide an ATS, and so we integrate with any ATS. So the ATS you use today and the ATS you might be thinking about using next year or the year after.
All right. Thank you very much, Lori. I have another one for you.
Okay.
We brought up Eaton earlier and their communities. So when companies like Eaton create these communities, how often do they typically communicate with that network or send out newsletters or touches, et cetera?
That's another great question. So, yeah, when you've built this database of warm leads, I mean, this is really a huge asset to the talent acquisition team, and you now need to keep those folks nurtured and engaged so that they stay warm, and so that you're top of mind the next time that they're looking. And it varies. How often our customers communicate with their talent networks varies, to sending job alerts, which happens automatically, to sending new messaging and new content, which also can be set up to happen automatically. So you can create like predefined drip campaigns, and it happens at regular intervals. Some customers have newsletters that they send out once a month. So it all varies, depends on the customer, but we will help you to sort of map that out, and more importantly, to automate that for you, so that while the recruitment marketing platform is capturing leads, it's also automatically communicating with those leads with some content that you've created, and it's easy to pull, and especially if you've got a marketing department, you can often pull some stuff that they're using. Keep those candidates warm and engaged without anybody actually having to do anything, and all to try to convert those leads into applicants. And then that's where your recruiters kick in.
Excellent. So I've got another question here. It's a bit of a curveball, and hopefully, we'll see. Is it possible? And you touched on this briefly just now. Is it possible we're wasting resources by auto-engaging these people who we may never hire down the line?
Not necessarily, because the resources is what, like an email that's getting sent? A lot of this stuff is happening automatically, and one of the things that we see is that candidates have many touch points before they're ready to apply. So someone might come and click on a link on one of your social channels. They might visit your Glassdoor review. They might see a job ad on Indeed. They might come to your career site. Continuing to communicate and nurture with these candidates and getting them to apply is only going to happen if they're staying interested and engaged. And that goes back to, like, is it the right fit for them and for you? So the folks that don't respond and that they don't reply, let's say, are not warm. They're not high quality leads. But with the recruitment marketing platform, you can see which ones are engaging, which ones are responding, and also to which touch points and to which messages. And that's who you focus on. So I think the automation is helping to sort of weed out those that are maybe not the right fit or less engaged, and bring to the surface the ones that definitely your recruiters and sources need to be taking a look at.
Excellent. Thank you. So another SmashFly question: what types of companies, markets, and or industries have you seen that have benefited the most from the implementation of this concept of your product?
We've worked across industries, which has definitely been great, because we see the interest not just, for example, in financial services, which tends to often adopt new enterprise technology before many others, but even into healthcare. I mean, really, our customers span manufacturing, consumer goods, you name it, transportation, hospitality. There hasn't been one particular market, let's say, or industry where we're focusing our time because that's where we see is like the primary interest. The interest really has been quite broad. There's some commonalities. I think that, Howard touched on some of them. I mean, most talent acquisition leaders today would tell you that, their hiring goals continue to increase, and yet the competition is also increasing. And they need new strategies and tactics in order to be effective and successful today. So this is becoming really top of mind. Top of the funnel is becoming top of mind for talent acquisition leaders. They know that the candidate journey starts at the point of attraction. It doesn't start at the point of the application process. So we have broad interest in using modern recruitment marketing and leveraging a recruitment marketing platform to help you achieve that strategy.
Thank you, Lori. I'm going to take a second. I'm going to change the topic of conversation real quick for a second. We had a couple of latecomers, and I want to have Howard go over really quickly what Aberdeen defines as best in class. It's pretty important for the way we do most of our metrics. So, Howard, what is an Aberdeen best in class company?
Best in class is defined as the top 20% in terms of the metrics that are utilized for that particular survey, the year-over-year metrics, and there are a few other kinds of metrics. So you're looking at best in class. Industry average are people that fall into the next 50%. That's just kind of your middle of the road. Picture, if you will, a bell curve and kind of the fat piece of it in a sense. And the laggards, those are the 30% at the bottom. Those are the people who usually are not doing terribly well in a host of areas that organizations see as very, very important. And I think one of the things that sets Aberdeen apart from other organizations, and this is not a plug for Aberdeen, this is a plug for Aberdeen's methodology. We never speak about a specific company when we do our research reports, our knowledge briefs, or any of the other kinds of things that we do. We don't say you should use this solution, and we don't say you should use this company because this company would be better for you than that company. What we do is we show you what best-in-class organizations are doing, and to me, there's some people see it a little differently, but to me, it's almost assumptive that if you want to see what best-in-class organizations are doing, there has to be some part of you that wants to become best in class, because I think striving for improvement and just in a continuous kind of way is very, very important. So best in class, once again, is the top 20%. That's the cream, and that's where the greatness lies for whatever that particular discipline is that we did the survey on.
Thank you for that clarification, Howard. So back to recruitment marketing real quick. Lori, I'm sure that you've got some insight from what companies are doing through SmashFly. What are some of the important metrics that people should be tracking to measure their recruitment marketing strategy to make sure they're actually using it effectively?
Okay. Well, when we talk to our customers, everyone still talks about hires, and and at the end of the day, the talent acquisition team function as part of the enterprise is to help it hire a great workforce. So it definitely starts with hires, how many hires, and then of course they're being measured on the time and the cost to fill those roles. So these are the traditional metrics, but we still see them prevalent when we talk to our customers, even as they're starting to adopt recruitment marketing strategies. So that the key is to tie the effectiveness of recruitment marketing into helping our customers meet those hiring goals. And traditionally, one of the things that they would do to know the effectiveness of recruitment marketing is they would look at the source of hire. However, the ATS is capturing the last source of hire. And even when we integrate with the ATS, we're able to capture that source code and maintain that in the system. But that's just the end of the journey. With the recruitment marketing platform, we can see all the way to the beginning of the journey. And so some of the new things to think about when you're implementing a recruitment marketing strategy, and if you're choosing to use technology to support you in that strategy, is are you able to measure all the sources that influenced and that touched that candidate along that journey? So I think that is increasingly becoming an important metric in recruitment marketing. And then, the number of leads and the conversion rate of those leads into applicants. And that's just like a basic metric that anyone doing recruitment marketing who's focused on generating leads for their recruiters and sourcers should be able to report on.
Thank you, Lori. Now we've talked about ATS a couple of times. Could you talk a little bit more about the relationship between, like, the ideal relationship between an ATS system and a recruitment marketing platform, Lori?
Well, they're really two different systems, and they work in concert with one another. So one way to think about it is that the recruitment marketing platform sort of sits on top of the ATS, at least, visually, if you think about it from a funnel and from a process perspective. And there are a number of integration points between the recruitment marketing platform and the ATS, so that you can both pull information out of the ATS and also push information back into the ATS. So an example of that would be to pull the jobs that are in the ATS into the recruitment marketing platform, so that you can distribute those to the right job boards automatically, and to be able to track all of those jobs and make sure that those jobs are SEO optimized and easily found when candidates are looking. An example of pushing information into the ATS would be the touch points and the sources that those candidates are clicking on. So, for example, did they click on your Facebook page, or did they open a particular email for et cetera? And maybe that becomes the last source of hire that was used to convert that candidate. And then ultimately, we're also pulling information about the leads that get pushed into the ATS all the way through to the hiring process, so that we can report on where someone might be from a stage perspective. So have they been in the interview process? Were they selected? Were they made an offer? And based on where they are in those different hiring stages, we can modify the behavior. So, for example, maybe you don't want to be sending email marketing to those folks while they're in the interview cycle. So there's sort of two-way integration, push and pull of data to help the talent acquisition leader have a full picture of what's happening from the top to the bottom of the funnel. As we sometimes say, from the first time that they view your employer brand all the way to hire.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Bennett, for facilitating our Q&A section. Lori, Howard, thank you so much for presenting this fantastic webinar today. And to our audience, thanks everybody who joined us here. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. I will be following up with you shortly with the webinar recording and the slides, so keep an eye out for that. And thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.